What's up guys, my name's Brandon, and just as tradition here on the channel, today we're going to be doing a huge battery life comparison between the brand new 2020 iPhone SE, the iPhone 11, the iPhone XR, the iPhone 8, the iPhone 7, the iPhone 6s, and the iPhone SE. So this year Apple finally unveiled the second generation iPhone SE, and even though it has the same build and the same battery life as the iPhone 8 here, that A13 Bionic chip should equate to a longer lasting battery than the iPhone 8. But just how much longer will it last over the iPhone 8? And could it possibly outperform the iPhone XR or even the iPhone 11? We've seen some bizarre things happen in these battery tests here on my channel, so you really never know what to expect. But anyways, let's go ahead and lay out the battery specs and get to work. So the phones are lined up from left to right in order of newest to oldest. So over here on the far left, we have the iPhone SE 2020 with an 1821 milliamp hour battery. Then we have the iPhone 11 here with a 3046 milliamp hour battery. We have the iPhone XR with a 2942 milliamp hour battery. We have the iPhone 8 with the same battery as the SE 2020, which is 1821 milliamp hours. We have the iPhone 7 with a 1960 milliamp hour battery, the iPhone 6s with a 1715 milliamp hour battery, and then the original iPhone SE with a 1624 milliamp hour battery. So we also have the iPhone 8 Plus over here, which is going to serve as the stopwatch phone. And as you can see, all devices are fully charged at 100% and they're all plugged in. I will unplug them all at the same time as well. You can also see the brightness is set at the same exact brightness. So we have 50% on all devices via Siri. We also have Wi-Fi on, do not disturb on. We have Bluetooth and cellular off. We have location services off, we have manual email fetch, and then we also have the volume turned down most of the way. And then as you can see on the about page, all devices are currently on iOS 13.4.1, the latest current iOS release at the time of recording this. All right, so we're gonna do this battery test just like we always do the battery tests here on the channel. We're gonna start it off with watching a long 4K YouTube video, and then right once I start that video, we're gonna unplug all devices at the same time via the extension cord that I have them all plugged into. All right, so we're just over an hour into the battery test, so we're going to go ahead and check on the battery percentage of these before moving on to the next task. So let's go ahead and start off with the iPhone SE. So we're at 97% on the SE. We're at 97% on the iPhone 11 as well, 96% on the iPhone XR, 90% on the iPhone 8, 88% on the iPhone 7, 83% on the iPhone 6s, and 90% on the iPhone SE. Wow, I did not expect the iPhone SE to be having 90% still over the iPhone 7 and the 6s. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is record a 4K video from the rear-facing camera and then flip it around to the front to do another 20-30 minute video from the front-facing camera. All right, so we've been recording for about 30 minutes on all devices. So we're gonna go ahead and stop the recording and then go ahead and check on the battery percentage of each, starting with the iPhone SE, we're at 66%, then the 6S at 50%, the 7 is at 67%, the iPhone 8 at 72%, the iPhone XR is at 87%, the iPhone 11 at 87% as well, and then the iPhone SE at 81%. But now we're gonna go ahead and do a front-facing recording here as well, kind of just trying to emulate stuff that you would do in real life and also trying to wear down the battery as much as possible to see how much longer the battery lasts on each device. All right, so we're just over 2 hours into this battery test, and now we're gonna go ahead and do some light gaming. So I have Subway Surfers loaded up here on all devices, and we're just gonna go ahead and play this for a little while. All right, so after a little bit of light gaming, we're at 48% on the SE, 42% on the 6S, 50% on the 7, 56% on the 8. We're at 79% on the XR, 80% on the 11, and 70% on the SE. All right, so now we're gonna move on to some web browsing. So as you can see here, we're going to the same website on all devices, just really trying to emulate real world usage as best as possible. Just, scrolling up and down the pages, actually reading some things, clicking on links, going to different parts of the website, pulling up the share sheet like we're gonna go ahead and send this to somebody in a text message or an email. All right, so now we're gonna run an Antutu benchmark test. Now I know you guys are not gonna run benchmark tests in your your day-to-day usage. But the whole point of this video is to drain these batteries as fast as possible, and doing things like this are going to help us achieve that, so we can see how much longer these batteries last than the other. So we're going to start this test on all devices and check the percentage once we come back. All right, so we just finished up the Antutu benchmark test on all devices, and you can see here the 6S dropped all the way down to 11% from this test. So meanwhile, we're at 30% here, 37%, 46%. On the 10R, we're at 71, 73 on the 11, and 56% on the iPhone SE. So if you were thinking about upgrading from an iPhone 6S to the new iPhone SE, this difference in battery life should be a pretty good reason to go ahead and upgrade. Now, I know the battery life isn't the best, the battery health is not the best on the iPhone 6S, but it's probably about what yours is, if not better. So just take that into consideration if you're still thinking about upgrading from the 6S to the SE. All right, so now we're gonna go back into some social media applications and just kind of scroll around and once again, try to emulate real world usage as best as possible. So we're gonna go on some profiles, watch some videos on Twitter and Instagram, and watch a few YouTube videos and things like that, and then come back and check what our battery percentage is at. So now we're going to go back into the camera and record another 4K video, this time only for about 15 minutes, and let's see where we stand after that. We're going to do rear facing here. All right, so we just got another low battery alert here on the iPhone SE, getting close to 3.5 hours in. So we're just going to go ahead and stop the recording for all devices and check our battery percentage. So we're at 20% here, 1% on the iPhone 6S right now, 12% on the iPhone 7, 30% on the iPhone 8, 64% on the 10R, 65% on the 11, and 42% on the new SE. So wow, not even 3.5 hours and the iPhone 6S is about to die. Again, it's at 1% here, and this thing didn't have that bad of a battery. So if we go to our battery health here, you can see we have an 89% maximum capacity, which isn't terrible. Obviously it's not the best, but this device was used for a long time, and most people with the 6S will probably have a battery percentage around 89% unless they replaced it anytime recently. And it looks like the iPhone 6S is finally dying. It stayed on 1% for a while, but you can see there it lasted just about 3 hours and 51 minutes. So that is the oldest device, so shouldn't be too surprising. But then again, it does have a bigger battery than the iPhone SE. So we'll see how the rest do throughout the test. And just an update on the other devices right after the iPhone 6S went down. The first generation iPhone SE is at 14%. We have 1% here on the iPhone 7. 23% on the iPhone 8, on the 10R we're at 58%, 60% on the iPhone 11, and 38% on the new iPhone SE. So 38% versus 23% over the iPhone 8, which has the exact same battery capacity, the exact same battery in general. So very, very impressive results so far from the iPhone SE, the new iPhone SE. But then again, it stands no chance to the iPhone 11 or the iPhone 10R, pretty much as you guys probably expected before this test started. But I mean, just the difference in how much these are dominating is really telling. And down goes the iPhone 7 just a few minutes later, around 3 hours and 55 minutes. So let's go ahead and check in on the other percentages right now. So the iPhone SE, probably all going to be the same, but just to make sure, 14% on the SE, 22% over here on the iPhone 8. We're at 67 or 57% rather on the iPhone 10R, 59% on the iPhone 11, and 38% on the new iPhone SE. And down goes the iPhone SE at just around 4 hours and 33 minutes. So this lasted a good bit longer than both the iPhone 6S and the iPhone 7, which is kind of surprising given it has a much smaller battery than either one of these two. But then again, it is a smaller device and doesn't push as many pixels, but still very interesting. So let's check in on the other one. So the iPhone 8 right now is at 11%. The iPhone 10R over here is at 49%. iPhone 11 at 52%, and the new iPhone SE at 25%. And down goes the iPhone 8. So just at around 5 hours and 8 minutes goes down the iPhone 8. So let's go ahead and check out what the iPhone SE is at. So 16%. So 16% of power with the same battery as the iPhone 8. So very impressive from the brand new 2020 iPhone SE. Let's go ahead and check out what the iPhone 11 and 10R are at. So the iPhone 11 is at 44%, iPhone 10R at 41%. So let's go ahead and see how much longer the new 2020 iPhone SE can last. And there goes the iPhone SE 2020. So 6 hours and 12 minutes. That's over an hour longer than the iPhone 8 and over 2 hours longer than the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6s. So very impressive there from the new iPhone SE, especially given the fact that it has the same battery as the iPhone 8. And I should also say that it's noticeably cooler than the iPhone 7, the 6s, and the iPhone SE, and just a little bit cooler than the iPhone 8. So also another pro of the new 2020 iPhone SE. And then there were two. So I'm sure you guys guessed that these would be the two finalists, but most of you guys probably came here to see how the iPhone SE 2020 would perform. But still, we're at 30% on the 11, 27% on the iPhone XR. We're gonna crank this brightness all the way up and then watch that video again until one of them dies. And down goes the iPhone XR at just about 7.5 hours. So 7 hours and 29 minutes. And if we check in on the iPhone 11, we are at 4% still on the iPhone 11. And then finally down goes the iPhone 11 at 7 hours and 41 minutes. So it's no surprise that the iPhone 11 and the iPhone XR came in first and second place, but I think a lot of people could have actually guessed that the iPhone SE 2020 might finish below the iPhone 8, but that was not the case despite having the same sized battery. So just to recap, the iPhone 6s came in last place at about 3 hours and 51 minutes of on-screen time, followed by the iPhone 7 at 3 hours and 55 minutes. Then the iPhone SE actually performed really well in this test and got 4 hours and 33 minutes of on-screen time. Then the iPhone 8 got 5 hours and 8 minutes. And then the 2020 iPhone SE got 6 hours and 12 minutes. Then the iPhone XR got 7 hours 29 minutes. And of course the iPhone 11 got 7 hours and 41 minutes. So once again, if you were on the fence about upgrading to the new iPhone SE and you're just curious about the battery life, how much better it is than the iPhone 8 or any previous iPhone, you can see here, there's at least 1 hour more of on-screen time from the battery in the iPhone SE 2, despite being the exact same as the one in the iPhone 8. Now, if you're coming from like an iPhone 6s or an iPhone 7, then you're going to notice a huge difference in battery life going to the iPhone SE. And of course, there is the opposite end of the spectrum as well. There were a lot of people I saw commenting on my videos talking about going from the iPhone XR or the iPhone 11 to the iPhone SE. But as you can see, you are going to be losing at least an hour, maybe 2 hours of on-screen time in terms of battery life if you were to go from the XR or the 11 to the iPhone SE. But of course, you would possibly save money, and of course, you would have that home button. So it just depends on what you actually want in your phone the most. So yeah, these results were pretty surprising to me. I really did not expect the iPhone SE2 to get an hour more battery life than the iPhone 8. I thought it was going to be maybe like a 20-minute difference in terms of on-screen time, but I definitely did not expect an hour. So it definitely exceeded my expectations, and this is just a tremendous phone for $400. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. This phone is the best value right now in all of smartphones, not just Apple, any smartphone. This is the best deal you can get right now. And that's pretty much going to wrap up the battery test. As you can see, it's almost 5:30 a.m. I was doing this battery test all night long. So if you guys enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And of course, make sure you guys do subscribe. I will be doing another huge battery test when the new iPhones come out later this year, the flagship iPhones, of course. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below with what device you have and if you were kind of, shocked by these results, if they were what you expected. And of course, we always get the comments of people saying they're on like an iPhone 5 and they couldn't even make it through my video with their battery life. So just feel free to drop any comments down below. I'm very friendly down there. I like having conversations with you guys down there as well. So anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.